Is the link the same? Is the link for the live stream the same for all of our?
No.
Okay,
No,
I didn't think it was.
generates an individual one. So
It's like it's randomly generated.
yeah. So basically, what I do is I, hit launch to YouTube, gives me this link. Then I do it. So.
Gotcha. Oh, I can't believe it.
I think there's ways you could do it, like I do it directly to our page, but it won't be directly to the video.
Mm-hmm.
That's like works out easier.
Yeah, because it happened.
Hey, Ron. Hey,
Hey,
John.
Jen, how are
Good, how are you?
you?
And I said, I don't think we get it until right before.
Yeah.
So I told him how to find it. Yeah, that's the video. There he goes. I think we're just waiting on George. It is 6:30, but we'll wait just a minute or two for George Williams to come in. Thanks. Just saying that to George. Okay. Nothing, Joe. Okay. Appreciate your patience, everybody. We will go ahead and get started. Thank you, Jeff. Welcome to the March 9th, 2021 meeting of the Mayfield Village Community Reinvestment Area Housing Committee. This meeting is being held in accordance with Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22, specific to recent amendments made in light of the current COVID-19 declared emergency, House Bill 197, amended by House Bill 404. Under the orders of Governor DeWine and the Director of Health of Ohio, this committee will be meeting remotely via electronic means. The public is invited to view this meeting live and can access the meeting through a link posted on the Mayfield Village website, which is www.mayfieldvillage.com. This meeting has been properly noticed to the news media. These proceedings will be conducted in compliance with all applicable state law and regulations. Ms. Betsa, may I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mrs. Joseph?
Here.
Mr. Haycox?
Here.
Ms. McGrath?
Here.
Ms. Tweed?
I think you said Miss Tweed here if you did.
Mr. Wynn?
Here.
Mr. Marquardt?
Here.
Ms. Weber?
Here.
Welcome again, everyone. I'm John Marquardt, Economic Development Manager for the Village of Mayfield. And with respect to the Community Reinvestment Area, I am also the village's designated housing officer. Since this is our first meeting, I thought it'd be a good idea to briefly recap our purpose and responsibilities, as well as how we got here. Mayfield Village Council approved the creation of a community reinvestment area April 15th, 2019, for the purposes of offering real estate tax exemption as an economic development tool. On June 11th, 2019, the Ohio Development Services Agency approved the village's application. And to date, no real estate tax incentives have been granted by the village, which is why this is the first meeting of this group. As required by state law, the village must form a housing committee to review all applications for the community reinvestment area incentives and to make recommendations to the village council. The last responsibility of this committee is a yearly performance review of all active deals. The state requires that this committee contain 7 members to be formed as follows: 2 members appointed by the mayor, Mayor Bodnar appointed, Finance Director Ron Wynn, and myself. 2 members appointed by council. Those members are Councilman George Williams and Councilwoman Jennifer Jurasek. 1 member appointed by Planning and Zoning Commission, that's Dr. Sue McGrath. And then 2 members of the village at large, approved by a majority of those first 5 members. And those are Bob Haycox and Gina Tweed, who were approved electronically by this group on February 18th of this year. So welcome again to everyone, and thank you for serving what will be a 3-year term on this committee. Tonight we have 2 agenda items, the first of which is election of officers, which would be a chairman, vice chairman, and secretary. And then number 2, the second item is a review for an application of partial tax exemption to GLHG Mayfield Holdings LLC for the Holiday Inn property at 780 Beta Drive. While the state law governing the CRA does not specify the officers for this committee, it only specifies how the 7 members are comprised. I do believe it's a good idea to elect chairman, vice chairman, and secretary this evening so that we can all work more efficiently and report more accurately to council. So with that, I would like to open the floor for nominations for chairman.
I'd like to nominate John Marquardt as chair.
If that's appropriate, I second.
I second.
Any discussion or opposition?
No.
Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mrs. Jurasek,
Yes.
Mr. Haycox,
Repeat.
Mr.
Yes.
Haycox, Dr. McGrath,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Tweed,
Yes.
Mr. Wynn,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt.
Yes. Next, I would like to open the floor for election of a vice chairman, please.
Nominate Jenna Tweed.
I'll nominate Ron Wynn. Oh,
We
I
have a
believe Mr. Williams nominated Ms. Tweed, and I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Jurasek,
Yes.
Mr. Haycox,
yes.
Dr. McGrath,
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Tweed,
Yes.
Mr. Wynn,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt.
Yes. And lastly, I'd like to open the floor for a nomination for secretary, please.
Nominate Bob Haycox.
I could second it.
Discussion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Williams,
Yes.
Mrs. Jurasek,
Yes.
Mr. Haycox,
Yes.
Dr. McGrath,
Yes.
Tweed,
Yes.
Mr. Wynn,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt.
Yes. Thank you all. Appreciate everyone's willingness to serve. Second item on this evening's agenda is the review of a partial real estate tax exemption to GLHG Mayfield Holdings LLC, the owner of 780 Beta Drive. And I will briefly recap the application for GLHG before we open the floor for discussion. In October of 2019, GLHG acquired the Holiday Inn from the Quagliata family, and almost immediately they began working on renovation plans to correct years, if not decades, of some physical neglect and retain their internationally branded hotel flag, which, as it turns out, was actually fairly seriously in jeopardy at the time. As the hotel's plans and financing were being finalized, the COVID-19 crisis hit, and the hospitality industry was affected as badly as any. And it goes without saying that occupancy and room rates plummeted overnight. As a result, the planned renovation was on a bit of shaky ground and in need of some assistance, which is why we're here tonight. For the past several months, I've been negotiating with both the hotel and the Mayfield City Schools on the terms of this project. And I'm happy to report that we've all arrived at a good point where, number one, the hotel can receive a worthwhile financial benefit from this program, which will be reinvested into the property itself. And our partners at the schools will be adequately protected. I've been in constant contact with the school's treasurer, Scott Snyder, on the terms of this deal, and he has indicated to me that the school board will consider this proposal at their next board meeting, which is next Wednesday, March 17th, and that he believes passage from their end looks favorable. So at the end of the day, the proposal before us tonight is a 75% exemption of real estate taxes on the improved value of the hotel for 10 years. And I think it's important to remember that this program can only exempt real estate taxes against the improved value of the property, not the current value of the property. So real estate taxes will never fall below where they are now. In all, the hotel is investing nearly $2 million into the property, $1,168,112 of which is eligible for this exemption. This renovation will result in somewhat modest hiring by the hotel and the restaurant. They're projecting 5 full-time staff will be added and 13 part-time staff will be added. But this project will also help protect existing jobs. And I think perhaps most importantly, position the hotel to emerge successfully from the COVID crisis and sort of hit the ground running when the world is back to normal. So the application and draft agreement has been distributed to everyone. And one thing I would like to note in your materials, there is a numerical error in the application itself, which is the shorter of the 2 documents that were distributed. The hotel had indicated on this application that their new hiring would generate $46,000 and change in new income taxes to the village. I want y'all to know that is an error. That figure was actually the hotel's estimate for all locals and state taxes and fees. So the correct figure for new income taxes generated to the village is $3,387, and that is reflected in the actual agreement between the village and the hotel. That is the longer of the 2 documents that you received. So as housing officer, I'm happy to entertain any questions. And as chair, happy to open the floor to any questions, comments, concerns.
Mr. Marquardt, I see the amount, the 1.1 million that you mentioned,
Yes.
and I see that it's plus or minus 10%. Is it capped at all? Is this tax abatement capped at a certain, is there a ceiling at all on it? Or I get that this is an estimate. So I didn't know if it is going to be the true value or if there's a cap.
It's an estimate at this point, and it's based on the hotel's general contractor's bid.
Okay,
So as of right now, this is a pretty firm number. I know the agreement language indicates a plus or minus 10%, but I think the hotel is very, very comfortable with this number being firm.
okay,
But the abatement would be capped at 1.168 plus 10%.
okay,
So once construction is completed, we'll have all the final numbers from the hotel, but it would not exceed essentially 110% of the 1.168.
okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And to follow up on what John had provided, the plus or minus 10% is a statutorily required element that's put into the agreement to make sure that I mean, there's only so much that you can do with construction costs, but so we're able to, it does, in a sense, operate as a cap.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question.
I have a question.
I think
Work
Gina was
started
in.
yet?
I think that was Bob that had a question.
Gina, go ahead and we'll get to Bob.
Okay. Okay. Just from my understanding, how do we expect the Holiday Inn to really pour individuals back into the hotel so that they generate this income that we will receive in the village?
By putting people back, do you mean employees or guests? Could you clear that up?
Okay, so we're expecting that generation to come from employing the 5 full-time and the 16 part-time people?
I think it was 13, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to clarify, the village also receives an occupancy tax from the hotel. And I think it's important to note that the Holiday Inn has indicated to me that essentially a good deal of the savings that they will receive via this abatement would actually be poured back into marketing the hotel itself.
Yeah, okay. That's what
So they're going to get really aggressive on marketing to get their occupancy back to where it was, if not even more. So we're confident that the money would be put to good use and essentially benefit us that way as well.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, go ahead, please.
My question is, has the week got exterior and exterior renovations?
You broke up there, Bob. Could you repeat, please?
Can you hear me? Oh, all right. I said, has the work begun on the interior and exterior renovations yet?
No, it has not. The general contractor has been hired, but no work has begun. The contractor has started to order some material, which the state of Ohio has indicated is fine under the CRA regulations, but no work has begun. And next step would be for that general contractor to come on in and have a pre-construction conference with our building commissioner, which we hope to set up shortly.
Okay.
One of the conditions on that's statutorily required is that in order for them to receive this tax abatement, no construction can commence until this is fully approved. So from here, this will go to council to certify it over to the school board in order to vote on it, as John had mentioned. And then it will go to, once the school board votes on it, it'll go back to council for them to fully approve the agreement, and then needs to go to the state of Ohio for them to fully approve the agreement as well. So there's a few more steps that'll happen down the road.
What's the timeline when it goes to the state of Ohio?
They have 15 days after it's fully passed by council for them to take a look at.
Was there any, John, you had mentioned you talked with Scott Snyder. Was there any concerns in Mayfield City Schools with this at all?
I think maybe the best way to answer that question is to back up a year and a half when we were trying to form the CRA.
Okay.
We were in pretty heavy discussions with the schools back then as well. And we made it clear from the outset with them that, number one, we want to work in partnership with the schools, not in opposition with the schools, certainly. So he and I sort of had a bit of a handshake agreement back then that we would involve them heavily from the get-go on any deal. I think, Ms. Weber, you may clarify this, but the state law indicates that any abatement of 50% or less doesn't need to involve the schools whatsoever. I think that's kind of a bad look, frankly, and agreed with Mr. Snyder that we wouldn't do that regardless. So I think he and I established a pretty good relationship that we would involve them from the get-go. I will say that the 75% for 10 years that you see tonight is the result of a pretty fair amount of back and forth between the schools and us and the hotel.
Okay.
And it is at a level that he's comfortable with. And he's indicated to me that he has recommended approval to the board for their upcoming meeting. So I'm pretty happy with the way he and I have been able to work pretty amicably so far.
Okay, great. Thanks for all that background info.
Thank you.
Hey, John, the 75% number, is that 75% of just the village's portion, or what about the portion that usually would go to the county or the metro parks or the library? How are those handled?
That's 75% of all of it.
Of all of it?
It is, yes.
So everybody gives up a portion of theirs except for the schools?
No, the schools are exempting their share as well.
Okay.
So essentially, parks, libraries, everybody would see this portion exempted.
Okay.
Any other questions from the group? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to recommend approval to Village Council, please. George, you're muted.
So moved.
Second,
I second it.
any further discussion? Hearing none, we're going to do this by roll call, please, so everyone's clear. Ms. Betza, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Haycox,
Hey, Bob, you muted. Bob,
Yes. Sorry about that.
Dr. McGrath,
Yes.
Ms. Tweed,
Yes,
Mr. Nguyen,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt.
Yes. Any other issues that anyone would like to bring to the floor?
clarify the nominations that were made tonight.
So I have myself as chair. Ms. Tweed as vice chair and Bob Haycox as secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Betts, a roll call, please.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mrs. Jurassic,
Yes.
Mr. Haycox,
Yes.
Dr. McGrath,
Yes.
Ms. Tweed,
yes.
Mr. Nguyen,
Yes.
Mr. Marquardt.
Yes, we are adjourned at 6:57. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.